volunteering can be a very rewarding thing. This speech is important because it shows the importance of serving the community and the reward that can come from that. My name is Hunter Tucker, and I'm a business major at the University of Arkansas Little Rock, and this speech is going to talk about my service learning. First, I'm going to tell you about my service learning story, some communication concepts, and finally some ethical implications. Now that I've introduced myself, I'm going to tell you about my service learning. I completed my service learning at the Fall Fest 5K. First, when we got there, we showed up, my bad. So the mission is to get people active and involved in the community. And the story of my service learning is we showed up and we got people their race bids and we got them all ready for the race. And then after, we all got in a truck and we drove out to the course and we set up, made sure everyone knew where they were going, and we drove alongside them and cheered them on as they went. And we returned to the finish line and we cheered them on to the finish and helped them post-race. And we helped serve their mission by making sure the race ran smoothly, by engaging with the community, and just getting everyone involved. Now that I've told you my service learning story, I want to talk to you about some communication principles. So the communication principle connected to my story is that communication involves both verbal and nonverbal messages. And the definition according to the UALR Survival Guide 2019 is that all behavior has symbolic potential. That includes the words we speak, as well as our vocal, nonvocal, and nonverbal communication. An example of this in my story was, I didn't just use verbal communication, I used nonverbal. This was in the form as clapping for them, cheering them on with my voice, as far as with my nonverbal communication. And my first concept is nonverbal communication. And the definition of that, according to Minnesota Libraries Publishing 2019, is the process of sending and receiving messages without using words, either spoken or written. And an example of this in my story was, as I mentioned, was clapping and cheering them on without using my verbal communication. And the second concept is positive visualization. And according to the textbook, this is another way of engaging in cognitive reasoning. And everyone in the race engaged in this by visualizing the finish line in a positive way. While they were visualizing the finish line by saying, okay, I'm gonna get there, and they're doing this in a positive way, which helped them finish. Now that I'm going to talk to you about ethical implications. And based on my service learning, I can use communication concepts and ethical implications. And a communication concept I could improve on is environmental noise. The definition of environmental noise, according to the textbook, is any physical noise present in a communication encounter. And an example of this while I was there was I was talking to a guy, and at this fest they had like a band going on and a lot of people talking. I couldn't even understand him or hear him. So something I could improve on was being more aware of that in the conversation and adjusting to that. And ethical implication is concern for community. And definition according to the Survival Guide is committing to the practice of daily actions, interactions, and performances of engaged citizens that promote a co-created community experience. And this could help me improve just by being aware that, like, when I was talking, getting to know people in the community, like just how important it is for people to come out to these kind of functions and just help support them. And now that I've told you all this, I'm gonna wrap it up. Today I told you about my service learning. First, I told you about my service learning story, communication principles, and lastly, I told you about my ethical implications. Thank you.